This is a very exciting week here at Darlington with homecoming, Fall for the Arts, Alumni Weekend festivities. Even though it's been a while since I was a student here at Darlington, I remember homecoming week and sitting right where many of you are today. I know you're probably thinking about Fall for the Arts this afternoon, the big football game tonight, homecoming dance tomorrow. But I encourage you to think about the accomplishments of the alumnus we're honoring here today. Because one day, you or your friends might be the ones that are being honored as well. Or at least, I hope you decide to model many of the examples Mr. Thuston has shown. At Darlington, our students confidently contribute in class, on their teams, on stage, in the dorms, and in the communities in which they serve through leadership. After Darlington, they continue to contribute in the same way through service to their communities, families, and in their careers. As students and alumni, they do all of this by growing and continuing to be meaningful contributors to the greater good. The Distinguished Alumnus Award was established in 1983. Since then, 52 deserving alumni have received this award. This award was given to Darlington alumni for any of the following reasons, or for any of the following areas: notable achievement in professional field, service to his or her community, state, or nation, service to the arts, sciences, or humanitarian causes, loyalty to Darlington. The Alumni Council, in conjunction with the Alumni Office, solicits nominations each year from the alumni body. From those alumni nominations, the executive committee reviews the names and determines the most appropriate person for that year. It is a difficult task to narrow down because there are so many qualified applicants. We are very fortunate to have so many confident contributors as alumni from which to choose. This year, we have chosen one very fine individual who has contributed so much while at Darlington and in his home state of Alabama. Ms. Owens will share with you Mr. Thuston's amazing credentials, and I hope you find the program to be both entertaining and educational. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ryan. And thanks to the Alumni Council for all of the work you do for the school. We appreciate you hosting Alumni Weekend 2017. On behalf of Darlington School, it gives me great honor to introduce you to our Distinguished Alumnus Award recipient for 2017, a graduate who exemplifies the school's motto, wisdom more than knowledge, service beyond self, honor above everything. William Lee Thuston, class of 1967. Lee Thuston is celebrating his 50th reunion this weekend and has continued to stay connected with Darlington by hosting Darlington events, serving as his class agent, as a member of the Board of Visitors and the Board of Trustees. Lee has also been generous with his resources and his time by leading the Birmingham campaign for the Design for Darlington. Lee was a boarding student from Birmingham, and his involvement included serving as president of his senior class, member of the Darlington Players, Pep Club, and he was also a terrific basketball player. To his Darlington friends and classmates, Lee is affectionately known as Stretch. After Darlington, Lee went on to study at the University of Virginia before returning to Birmingham for law school. He has had a very distinguished career in law, and as you can read in his bio, he has made a huge impact in his home state of Alabama. Throughout Lee's life, he has shown his love for the school and others by exhibiting compassion, staying connected, and confidently leading by example. He truly seeks to improve the greater good. Lee's family is with us today. His wife, Gray, his daughter Thames, his daughter-in-law Ginger, and his son Will, class of 2000, Leadership Darlington class of 2012. On behalf of Darlington School and its Alumni Association, it gives me great pleasure to present the 2017 Distinguished Alumnus Award to William Lee Thuston, class of 1967.
Thank you, Linda. Excuse me, I had a meeting with the partner yesterday, and after I shook his hand, he said, "I've got a bad cold, don't sit near me," and I wish he'd told me that before I shook his hand, so I was taking a sip of water because of antihistamine. This is a real honor for my family and for me to get this award. It is even more honoring that I can look out in this audience and I can see several faces that I think are probably more deserving than me to get this award. And I can look at my friend Larry Williams, who has done 100 times more for this school than I will ever be able to do. And because the point of my talk today is going to be a conversation that Larry and I had last May about preparation we received at Darlington School, and because I have the microphone and Larry doesn't, this is going to be kind of a joint thank you to Darlington from Larry and me. And to put the story in context, the conversation we had, though, and this is before I knew I was getting this award, but to put it in context and give it hopefully some meaning, I'm going to give you a little bit of history of Darlington and me and a little bit of history of Larry and me, which I hope will make the story have sense and come together at the end of this in about 10 minutes, if you'll bear with me. So let's go back to the August of 1964. To most of you, you think dinosaurs still roam the earth then, but it's in August, and I'm about 2 weeks away from following my older brother to boarding school in Tennessee, where he's already attending. I'm from a family of all boys, and I'm the middle child, and you'll hear some of that theme as I talk to you today about my parents and me being the middle child. And I was down at my family's business we call the Sawworks, and I was asked to go see my father, who was a very good guy, and I went in there, and he said that he had sent one of his salesmen to Rome, Georgia to pick up an admission test at a place called Darlington School. And when the test got back, I was supposed to take it, and he was going to take me home, and I was to go up to my room, get to my desk, follow the instructions, don't get any help from anyone or anything, and stick to the time limits on taking the test, kind of an early honor code challenge. I took the test, he gave it back to him. A couple of days later, he and my mother called me into the library at our house and said, "You're not going to Tennessee where your older brother is, you're going to Darlington School." And this being 1964, the operative words to that are, "Yes, sir," and "Yes, ma'am." So about 10 days later, I arrive at Darlington School, never been here before, never seen it. They don't have a dorm room for me because I'm too late getting in. And so I have a little small single teacher's apartment on 3rd floor south. I guess you still call it 3rd floor south. I call it 3rd floor south. And so I'm there, and I just kind of hazy. I don't remember a whole lot about it. My good buddy Bill Tate over here, as Linda told you, gave me the nickname Stretch, which I carry most everywhere but around Birmingham. And it was okay. The only real memory I have is going into the bookstore, and I got a big, thick green book called Uniform Physics and Chemistry, Volume 1. And I remember thinking, this is going to be different than public school in Alabama. But I go through Darlington. I'm fine. I'm happy here. I had a good time here. Larry and I played basketball together. We became good friends. We keep progressing through school. We get towards college time. Larry, me, Bob Harbin, and a few of our friends decide we're going to go to the University of Virginia. So that's where we apply. Amazingly, we all get in, and so we go to college. So we move on through the University of Virginia. I lived with Larry 2 years. I lived with Bob Harvin 2 years while we're there. So we get on through the University of Virginia, and then Larry and I start to diverge somewhat on these two paths that we're going. And neither one of us has any focus or any clue where we're going, we don't think. And Larry has gone into the motel development franchise business, something like that in Atlanta, and he's doing that. I'm back to the middle child. I have told my father I am not going into the family business with every other Thuston, and so he kind of forces me to go to law school. He thinks that would be a good thing for me to do. I'm not really interested in that, but my father's a fairly persuasive person. And so Larry's in the motel business, I'm in law school, and we're creeping along, no focus. We're not sure what's going on. And then we get into the mid-70s, and Larry is beginning to get a little focus. Larry's always ahead of me, and you'll hear that in this talk, because he goes to Robinson Humphrey and begins his career in the financial industry and all of that. So he's got a slight bit of focus, and he's still going. Me, I'm still floundering. I mean, I look like a goldfish that jumped out of the bowl. I'm just doing that. I got no clue what's going on. I really didn't like law school. I ended up clerking for a judge for a year to put off the inevitable. Then I went back to graduate school to keep putting off the inevitable. I tried business school, but my father said, no, enough's enough, and you got to go get a job. And so I get a job, no surprise there, in the law firm that represented our family business. And I used to go up and visit my parents on weeknights, and every time I went, my father wanted me to burst through the door and say, I'm so happy I went to law school. I love being a lawyer. This is the greatest thing you ever did for me. And instead, all he gets is kind of a dish rag, and it's okay, and doesn't do much for me. So we're moving along. I'm practicing law. I don't really have any focus. Larry, as I said, he's beginning to get his. We get nearing to the 1980s, and two things happen. Larry is really beginning his focus because he's just starting his first investment banking firm. And you will hear the word luck and Lee and Thuston in the same sentence a whole lot to people that know me. And I, about the same time, go up and I visit my parents about once a week. I'd go up and see them. We're having the same conversation. My father is eagerly saying, how's the law practice? I'm telling him, I won't say exactly, but it's not great. I don't really like it. And he says, why don't you like it? And I said, because, Dad, you just sit there at a desk. Somebody walks up, they hand you a file. They say, do this, do that. You hand the file back. You wait a while, somebody comes back, hands you another file. And my father was a very astute person. He really was. And he looked at me, and he said, you know what your problem is? And I'm mentally thinking, this is going to be a long night if we're going to sit here and cover all my problems. And I said, no, sir, what's my problem? And excuse me. And he said, you don't have any inventory. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And he said, inventory. And I said, Dad, we don't have inventory. He said, yeah, you do. It's called clients in a book of business. And he said, your problem is you're too independent. And he said, if you had your own clients that you managed, that you took care of, and you were giving people folders, files to work on, then you'd be happy. And I went home that night, and I thought about that most of the night. And the next day, I started doing that, and I started building my own book of business. So Larry's in his first investment banking firm, and I've got to focus. It's still a little bit opaque, but at least I've kind of got it together, and I'm starting to build my practice. And my father's exactly right. And I went to a coffee company in Birmingham that Larry knows, where a friend of mine is, and that was my first independent work that I ever got for myself. And so I'm starting to move, and I'm starting to build this kind of a general overall practice, which I'm beginning to really enjoy. So we're creeping our way through the 80s, and then Larry's focus gets a lot better, and he leaves or whatever he does with his first investment banking firm, and he forms the Breckenridge Group with some other partners. And over the next 30 years, it becomes one of the premier investment banking firms in the Southeast because of Larry and his partners and their hard work. So Larry's cooking. He's going in the way he goes. And I'm still going along. I'm not cooking as much, but I'm doing okay because I'm building my practice, and I am liking it. I finally enjoy the practice of law. I finally get it, and I've got some focus. And I think for the rest of my life that I'm just going to keep building this practice like I'm doing. I have changed law firms because another firm wanted me to come over with my practice, and that was a larger platform for me to work from. So I think I'm done. I know Larry's done, and away we go. What I don't know is that I'm really training, because a friend of mine about that time from New York, UVA guy, dropped in my lap one of the greatest clients, a large industrial manufacturing firm in the world, which completely turned my whole direction, a 90-degree turn into what they call economic development, which 25 years ago was not a known entity. Nobody did that. But I had been tapped to do this and work on this project. And when I finished that, I was sitting there out at the lake, and I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid. And I was thinking, you know, you just been paid a lot of money to do something that really not many other lawyers really know. And so I took the right-hand turn and went on a completely different career, which has been fascinating. I've had a great time the last 25 years, and it makes me sad that my father's not here, because he could see me burst through the door now and tell him how happy I am and how great and everything else that he wanted me to do. So that's where we are. Every year, Larry and I go fishing on Memorial Day weekend, and we sit in the boat and we talk. And I think a lot of guys talk about movie stars or Harvey Weinstein or sports or politics or something. I don't know what to talk about. Larry and I talk about our families, our spouses, our children, in my case, grandchildren. I'm a little bit, in fact, that's the only thing I'm ahead of Larry on is grandchildren, but I am ahead of him on that. And our businesses, and we talk about our businesses and what we've done right, what we've done wrong, successes we've had, mistakes we've made. Larry is a great advisor to me. He tells me, helps me a lot. I have been managing partner in my law firm for about, 14 or 15 years, and he helps me with some management issues that I've got. But we talk, and that's what we do. We like to do that. Every year we do that. Well, this past year, the point of this talk today, last May, and I did not know I was receiving this award, Larry and I are in the boat. Except the conversation this year is a little bit different, and it's a little bit kind of more somber, and it's more retrospective than prospective, because every other conversation is what's going on, where we're going to be next year, what's the economy going to be like next year, and this one was different. And the reason it was different is because we had both just gone through two significant kind of life changes, I think, in my opinion. One, I had just stepped down as managing partner in January in my law firm. And that is not just you stick a sticky note on the door that says I'm stepping down. It doesn't work that way. Lawyers don't like change, and so it's been kind of something that I've been working on for a couple of years to have a good transition to the next generation of leadership in the firm, and Larry had been helping me with that. So that's my change that's just gone on. And Larry's change is he has sold Breckenridge. He's about to work out his contract with the purchaser, and he is completely retiring, I think, at the end of June, a month after this conversation we're having. So we're sitting there talking among ourselves and going over retrospectively some things, and one of us, but the other one's thinking it or almost says it at the same time, quote, and it all began at Darlington. And so then we start talking back and forth. And Larry starts out and he says, think about it, Thuston. He says, we get there, what did we learn? We learned how to hard work, how to work hard, discipline, how to study hard. Then I come back and I said, right, we started learning people skills, leadership skills, friendship skills. Then Larry comes back. We learned how to express ourselves verbally, in writing, communicating. I came back and I said, we learned morals, honesty, integrity, keeping your word, kind of a pretty good segue from the honor code here to the University of Virginia honor code. So we kept going back and forth about all of the preparation that we had received here, and it was an interesting conversation. So that's what I'm relating to you today. I got one more quick point. A good friend of mine, Bill Ireland, who was about 30 years my senior, and I were in the car a couple years ago, and we were talking about something, and I said, he was congratulating me on some success we'd had, and I said, well, we were just lucky again. And he looked at me and he said, Thuston, he said, do you know what luck is? And I said, I don't know, it just falls out of the sky, drops in your lap. He said, luck is where preparation meets opportunity. That is luck. Well, Larry and I have had a lot of opportunities, and so for what preparation we have, we got it here at Darlington. So the message is, I'm just another old geezer sitting up here at the microphone, I know, but trust me, take advantage of everything this school has to offer. It will prepare you. It will get you ready to make the next 50 years, and you'll never regret it. So please take advantage of everything the school has to offer. Thank you again for this award, and I hope everybody has a nice weekend.